Kijk, dan gaan we dan. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. My name is Frank Doorhoff and welcome in a very stormy Netherlands, as you can hear outside. Now, you probably already read the title of today's episode. Music was my first love. And let's be honest, who doesn't love music, right? But today we're going to do something different. Now, as you know, Digital Classroom is an interactive live stream. That actually means that you guys can interact with me and ask me questions during the live stream. So please do. That's no problem at all. We also have in our chat now the option for top chat, and you can actually give a tip in the chat. So if you really like what we're doing, you can always give us a tip. Now, this camera has a little bit of a weird behavior. So if it goes up and down a little bit in exposure, sorry for that. The other ones won't do that. So what are we going to shoot today? Now, normally, of course, in Digital Classroom, we shoot a lot of models or we do seminars about model or street and travel photography. But I thought, let's do it slightly different today. As you guys probably know, one of my big passions is, of course, photography. But besides photography, music. And I don't mean music as in just listening to music, which, of course, is also awesome, but actually playing and recording my own music. Now, if you want to hear my music, check it out on your favorite streaming service like Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, or even YouTube Music. Just Google my name or search for my name, Frank Doorhoff, and you will find some, I hope, very nice instrumental music and some actually with a singer. So check it out. But today it's not about that. Now, one of the passions I also share, of course, is collecting guitars. And they don't have to be expensive, but I always look for a guitar with a story. And today we have three very different guitars, to be honest, and two actually are siblings from each other. And some people will absolutely go berserk when they see the two, but let me explain that later in the video because they are really special. The other one where we're starting with is something that has to do with the other two. And I'm not going to tell you yet which one that is. So, of course, when we look at guitars, you all know Fender, right? And today we're not going to shoot any Fender. You also know Gibson, right? Today we're not going to shoot any Gibsons. What are we going to shoot today? We're going to shoot something a little bit different. So let us join the studio and me together for a really nice photo shoot of, I don't know how to explain it. It looks a little bit out of this world. It's weird. And that is actually what we're going to do when we are shooting it. Because sometimes it's very important to connect the dots. So during your photo shoot, you have to make sure that what you're shooting also makes sense in the picture. And for this one, we're going to go a little bit overboard. So Anouk is going to take over from me behind the desk. And I'm going to set up and we're going to shoot something a little bit out of this world. So Anouk, are you ready to take over?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So.
It's really cold here.
Yeah, it is. It's really cold. Anouk's mic is off, so I'm going to tell you what Anouk says. So when we look at this setup, Anouk, do you see me in the camera?
No.
Okay, find the camera where you see me. We are with the two.
Sit down.
I have to sit down for the camera. Okay, I'm going to sit down for the camera. Okay, so normally we have a lot of people helping us out, like an intern and a friend of mine, but we don't have an intern at the moment and my friend is sick, so we have to do it with the two of us. And that means that we're a little bit limited. But as you can see, we have a setup in our studio with a red cloth on the floor and we have a click backdrops in the back with a nice, little bit like a burlesque kind backdrop. And I really like that one. And the thing on the floor is actually what we're going to shoot first. Now, I told you guitars. This isn't really a guitar, it's a ukulele. And you might wonder, do you play the ukulele? No. I actually had to figure out how it was tuned. But as soon as I figured that one out, it wasn't that hard. So it's in the form of an alien. And of course you can shoot something like this while it's laying on the floor, but that's not really interesting. So we built a little contraption so I can actually place it up. But the problem with placing it up, and you can see that, so Anouk, if you switch to another camera so people can actually see me while I'm standing. So maybe we have to switch that camera on, Anouk. Oh, okay. So it looks a little bit like an alien, and that really drew my attention because I thought, hey, this looks great. And it sounds awesome. So why not? The only problem is, how do you connect something like this to the floor in your studio? Now, today we're not going to do a real product shoot. It's just going to be a little bit of fun with you guys. And so I decided, like, let's just put it straight on and shoot it. And the only problem I didn't take into account was that this was rounded. So what we came up with is actually a little contraption here where I can just place it and it just stands. So that's really cool. Now, for the lighting, of course, we want to do something a little bit direct. So I don't want broad light source. I just want something that really draws the attention of the viewer towards my product. And that's a snoot. And I'm going to show you which snoot that is. Now, as you know, we are the distributor for Rogue, so we always promote our brands, of course, a little bit. Let me switch that over to this camera so you can actually see it. This is the snoot, and that was my ukulele. This is the snoot, and let me turn this over so I can actually see what I'm doing. So, and the cool thing about this snoot is that it actually has different settings. So this is the most extended, but you can also do this. And I don't know what I'm going to use yet, so I'm going to use stand 1, 2, 3 or 4. Maybe I'm even going to tilt it a little bit. I don't know yet. So we're going to see what happens. I'm connecting this to a GT250 from Gigoto, and that already has a magnetic connection. A round magnetic connection, of course. And of course, we have to make sure that the ukulele is back. And this will happen a lot during this one, I guess. The other ones, we don't have that problem. There we go. And I'm just going to paint the light a little bit on the ukulele. Now, the main problem I'm having at the moment is there's so much light from the studio that I don't see what I'm doing. But that's why we shoot tethered, right? So we can literally just get a little bit of an insight about what's going on. Okay, let's turn on the strobe. And let's turn on, just for fun, the modeling light. So I can get a little bit of an idea where we are. I only want the top to be dark and the bottom part to be lit. And I think this is okay. Now, of course, the first thing we always do is meter the light. Now, the other thing that we always do is make sure that we know which light is which. So I thought of a really nice system. Annemiek, please change that camera so I don't have to think about that. So I decided to, you know what? We have one in the back that has color, so that's channel C. We have one that's we're going to do as a main, that's A. And this one is our backup strobe, so we're going to use that as a B. And I think it's very important to remember those numbers and choose those numbers wisely. So in other words, if you are under stress and you have to determine very quickly which strobe is what, turn the volume down or volume up, you have to make sure that you do it on the right strobe. And trust me, during this broadcast, I will probably mix them up anyway. So that's the reason why we give them easy to recognizable numbers, because you know you're going to mess it up anyway. Okay, so I'm going to use the light meter, hold it in front of the area you want correctly lit. In most cases, that's of course towards the camera. And I'm getting a very low output, but that's okay because it's on a low setting. So let's turn up. There we go. Nice, 2.8. And that's great for this setup. So let's grab our camera. We want a shallow depth of field. I'm going to sit down. And let's set up for 2.8. Now I hope this will work because, again, I can't see my modeling lights at the moment. Let's turn this around. Okay, there we go. So first one will be a little bit of a test. So we're going to focus, of course, on the alien. And there we go. Now, as you can see, it looks okay. But in all honesty, it doesn't really excite me. It doesn't give me that wow feeling. I think there's a little bit too much light on one side, a little bit too less on the other one. So this is where we're going to fine-tune the light. So I'm going to pick this one up. And I'm just going to aim it. There we go. Again, I don't see what I'm doing, so I really have to determine by using the tethered preview if I'm happy with it. This looks okay. This is okay. Yeah, nice. I like it that it's now darker and we have a little bit of that light on the other side. What we can also do, of course, is get this light, move it a little bit more to the front, aim it at our alien, ukulele. And there we go. So now we have it a little bit more spread out. Now, if you want it tighter, you just move your strobe closer, so you narrow the beam. If you want it wider, you, of course, can move the strobe further away, or in this case, just make the snoot smaller. But in this case, I think we are actually happy with this. Now, of course, we want to spice something up. And by spicing something up, I always try to combine stuff. So for example, with styling, with a model, you have your model and you have your backdrop. But you can't put a model in jeans against a very old-fashioned backdrop. Well, you can do it, but it doesn't make real sense. But a model with a beautiful dress, that will look beautiful against an old-fashioned backdrop. And when you have a graffiti wall, that doesn't always work with every single outfit. So also with this kinds of setups, we want to make sure that we are getting into the same area of feel. In other words, we want to make sure that it looks right. Now the first thing, of course, when you see an alien, you go green, right? And why actually? Because the aliens are grey. But somehow our mind is triggered by colors. Colors evoke emotion. And Hollywood, of course, is a prime example of how we are messed up in our minds with color. For example, think about blue at night. If you walk your dog, it's never blue at night. It's ridiculous. But in every movie, it's blue. Same on the bottom of the ocean, it's blue, which doesn't make any sense at all because there is no light there. So when you turn on a light bulb, it's just the light of that light bulb. But if you would film The Abyss, the movie, in normal lighting, it will look fake. And that's the weird thing. It will be real, but it looks fake. And that's why with this setup, I don't go for green. I want to introduce a color in the set. But because I have a red backdrop and I have a red carpet, I don't want to include green because green and red are both primary colors. They're not on the same axis, so that means that they can literally compete with each other. If you look at, for example, red and blue, they're both on the bottom part of that triangle, and that means that they work a little bit nicer together. Blue and red are without any doubt my favorite colors for using gels. A little bit more information, by the way, about gels, because we get a lot of questions about that also for our Rogue products. When you buy a Rogue product and you buy the gels, on the gels you will find how much stops you have to correct for that gel. Now sometimes people are a little bit like, hey, I have to correct 2 stops for this gel and the gel is bad, right? Because I have to correct 2 stops and with another brand I only have to correct 1 stop. That's a huge mistake. The more the gel has to be corrected, that means the more vibrant that color will be, or the more intense, the more saturated. If you use a red gel that only has to be corrected for half a stop or 1 stop, it will not give you that beautiful saturated red. It will give you that, but on a very low setting of your strobe. When you use those really thick red gels, you can get away with a lot more, I sometimes call it headroom, that's not really true, but you keep that saturation up way better. So that's why we use the more thicker gels, and especially when we're working with smoke or with backlighting or lens flares, we want to make sure that that saturation is up to the max, and that's when you use those bigger gels. Now the cool thing about Rogue is if you buy the set with all the gels, you get different kinds of gels. So we also have a red that only has to be corrected like 1 stop. But this one, this is the big one. So let's also turn on that backlight and give it a little bit of splash of red over the material on the floor. And as you can already imagine, this is our C channel. How creative from, of course, color. And I'm using the pistol grip now to aim the light. And by the way, that's one of the things that I love about the Chikoto strobes, that's the pistol grip. You can very easily just aim your light any way you want. Okay, so at first I'm just going to leave the red on what's here, and that means on 1/4 power, but I'm already going for the C channel on the remote. And that one I will actually do on the remote. And there we go. Now, of course, this is way too much. If you look at this, it's nice because I see that little light in the back, but it's way too saturated on the floor. So let's turn that all the way down. It's now on 1/4. So let's go all the way down to, let's say 132. There we go, it's even lower. Okay, that's still too much. Let's go down even more. As you can see, there's a lot of power in those strobes. Okay, lowest setting. That's nice. Okay, let's just give you an idea of what it does. So we're going to turn all the other ones off. This is without any strobes. We're going to go now for the C channel only. Let me change that over very quickly. So let's turn B on again. And our A channel. So now we're going to mix everything nicely together. So let's turn that all the way down. a lot of buttons I have to press, sorry guys. There we go. And let's turn that down even more. Oh, and I know what's going wrong. One moment, guys. I told you this one has to be on C. And I think that after we turn it down and use the remote, it actually reset itself to A again. Yep, there we go. Okay, let's change that very quickly. C. Okay, that's much better. That will work much better. Okay, there we go. Audio is still okay, Annemiek? Okay. There we go. So now we have it on the lowest setting. That looks more than I expected. So let's turn it up. And this is a little bit like cooking. I sometimes say, like, I always use a light meter except for my backlights. And now you can see the red coming up. So let's give it just a little bit more. We don't want it too much, just a little bit in the back. There we go, this is nice. So now we have a little bit of that red on our backdrop. We have a little bit of red on the carpet. But it's still, I don't know, it misses something. And what does it miss? Well, one of the things that it's missing is blinking eyes. And that's one thing I'm going to do in Photoshop. But there's something else that's missing. And that's actually smoke. Now, we have several different kinds of smoke. You can use big smoke machines, which we normally use for fashion shoots. And those are nice, but they have to warm up a lot and they literally pump your whole studio filled with smoke. And sometimes you don't want that, right? Because you want to make sure that you work very fast, that you use smoke, and then it has to be gone immediately because the next set is coming in, or in the next set you don't want to use smoke. So let's start out with some smoke that's actually on the floor. So Annelie, can you give me the one that's on the floor? So we have a special attachment for that. If you give it to me, the floor. The other one. Okay, perfect. And this is a really nice attachment, and this makes it possible to layer your smoke on the floor. And the first time I saw it, I was going like, this is insane, because normally you need ice for this. But somehow they figured it out how to do it, and that's nice. So if we turn it on, the only thing I have to do is press the button, and it will start smoking. So no warm-up time, it just starts. Let's do something interesting here. Maybe a little bit inside, a little bit on the back. Yeah, a little bit too much because I'm alone at the moment. Oops. Told you that's gonna happen. Let's put that back again. And again, this is very, very follicly. How do you call that in English? Wobbly. It's not my cup of tea. Annelie, can you do the smoke, please? Because I'm not going to do this alone. I tried. So Annelie is going to take over for the smoke now. Yeah? So don't touch the ukulele. I learned. Yep. Nee, de bovenste. There we go. So hold it on the floor. There we go, look at that. Ho ho, Annemiek. Put it back.
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay. A little bit of smoke on the floor. Okay, let's try it for now. Nice. And as you can see, because I'm only using smoke on one side, or sorry, a light on one side, the smoke will automatically render on that side. But as you can see with the smoke on the floor, that backlight becomes really powerful. And this is one of the things you have to take into account when you use smoke. When you use smoke, it's the same as in your car with the headlights on. If you have smoke and you light it from the front, it will start to emit light immediately. If you light it from the back, it will start to light up. But that's the problem. If you set it up normally, you are probably setting up your strobe at least 1 or 2 steps too high. So we tested it out, and I love the effect. Let's do that again. But with the smoke, as you could see in the previous image, it didn't work. So what we're going to do now, color, is we're going to do 2 steps down, 2 full stops. Okay, and can you do it again? Okay, thank you. And this looks way better. A little bit of Photoshop later on and it works. But this is just smoke on the floor. And what if you want smoke on the water? I'm just kidding. What if you want more? Well, we have a bigger smoke machine. We're going to use that now to show you also what can happen if you use the smoke in the back. So you create a little bit more of that effect. So we're going to use the big smoke machine. And that bigger one has one big advantage. It has a little bit of a fan on the top. And you can turn the fan on. And then it will actually start blowing. Let's put it on 2. And let's turn this one on. Okay, and now the only thing you have to do is double press and double press. In the back, not in the front. Yeah, more in the back. Way more. Also on the floor a little bit. Let me try and help you out. We need assistance for this. Or tape. There we go. Okay. A little bit on the floor on the week with smoke. Okay, so now we have a lot more smoke. And now you can see that we don't have that floating effect anymore. But now it's more filled up. Now if you go like, hey, I really like this, but what if we also want some light on the backside? Now in this case I don't want it. I want a little bit of like an alien that comes in with blinking eyes. Later on in Photoshop we're going to make those eyes green, of course, and pop them out. But what if you don't want it? If you don't want it on one side and you only have that one strobe on the back, how can you solve that? Well, there is a simple solution for it and a hard solution. The easy solution is actually just use your sandwich technique. So we're going to take that strobe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this forward, and instead of aiming it at everything, I'm actually going to place it in the middle. So what I'm now trying to achieve is that I actually get some light on the back, and I get some light on the guitar, or the ukulele in this case. I hope I pronounced this correct for you Americans and English ones, and you don't make fun of me. So as you can see now we have more light on our backdrop. The backdrop is more evenly lit. And now when we use the smoke, Anouk, can you use the smoke again? I have to be nice to Anouk tonight. Did you put the smoke alarm in?
No.
Oh, okay, that's fun. Okay, go. And as you can see here, I think this effect is a little bit too less, so I like the other one better. But you know what? I'm done with the ukulele because I'm afraid it falls down. And I think we got some pretty nice shots. But of course, as always, don't be afraid to actually go close to your model or close to your subject in this case. And let's just try some really funky shots from, for example, a very low angle with a wide angle. How about this? Or maybe, and this one won't work that well because we have stuff behind it, so I have to figure that out a little bit. Maybe like something like this. And now you can see that the light doesn't work. Do you see that? So let's take this one out and let's use some real guitars. Not that the ukulele isn't a real guitar, because it does make sound and it has strings. But hey, so is a bass. Okay, let's take this one out of the equation. And I'm actually going to show you what we used, because we have a competition attached to that product. So I'm going to take over from Anouk.
Sorry.
Looks nice. Only this one doesn't look nice, but I think we got some really nice ones with the smoke on the side. Oh, you don't see that anymore. Sorry, guys. Let me switch over to the picture-in-picture with my face. And I think we got some nice ones. You know, it's just for fun, but I think something like this, and then with the gleaming green eyes, that can be really interesting. Yeah, I think this one. Awesome. Okay, but I wanted to show you something else. Now, here we go. Over time, there are things that make your life much easier, like getting married, right? And it can also be a little bit harder, but you know what I mean, right? A little bit of humor. But things that can make your life easier. Now, one of the first things that make your life very, very easier is, of course, Adobe Lightroom. Why Adobe Lightroom? Very simple, because all your images live there. You can make smart albums. You now even have AI functions in there. It became from an alternative to Bridge, and like Scott Kelby always said, there's a reason Bridge is for free. Yeah, just figure that one out yourself, but we don't use Bridge. But Lightroom has grown into something that's way more than an alternative for Bridge. It's actually a full-blown software package which can do raw conversion, maps, you can create beautiful albums, you can even create websites. But even for retouching now, if you are in a rush, you can do your retouching on your iPad, even skin. I have several videos on that and it looks absolutely amazing. So you might think like, hey, is there something that's even better than Lightroom? Yeah, but not in the software department. I found something else. Now, over the years, a lot of companies have sent me over gear to test out. And most of the times, I'm really positive about their gear. But I also found out that over time, some things look really nice when you buy them or you get them. And you go like, wow, this is amazing, this works. And then you start your review and you're still very enthusiastic about it. And you go like, yeah, this really works and it's great. You did your review, you use it for another month. And then you go like, yeah, but what if? And then all the frustrations come, you know? What if they change something here? What if they do something here? And when we're talking about Lightroom, I'm not just talking about Lightroom. As I mentioned before, I love creating music, so I'm using Logic Pro or Reaper. But I also love to edit videos, for example, in Final Cut. And one of the things that's really amazing about the new Apple MacBooks and your iPad Pros is that you are now able to connect your iPad Pro to your MacBook. And it means, take a breather for this, that you can use the full-blown Photoshop on your iPad with an Apple Pencil. Go figure that one out. Now, in all honesty, I use this with a USB-C cable because with your wireless transmission, I sometimes found that it was a little bit lagging, especially with selections, but it works like a charm. So I have my laptop on the desk and I have my iPad in my lap and I can just retouch to my heart content at home without using a laptop, so on the couch. The only problem, of course, is your Shift, your Command, your Control, your Alt, it isn't there, right? Now, literally, they thought of something and that's the floating island. Now, both Apple has it and, of course, also AstroPad, which is a software solution which does exactly the same that Apple does, slightly different, in some cases even better. But hey, that from Apple is free, right? We're Dutch. But anyway, without any jokes, you can connect that to your computer. So in other words, you can just retouch on the couch. But those floating, it just doesn't work for me, because the thing is, when you are used to a certain workflow, you do stuff blind. So I'm retouching and my fingers just know exactly on the keyboard where to go because the Shift, the Alt, they're all under the same place. Now, when you're using an iPad and you have a floating thing, there's no tactical feel. So that means that you always have to look. And for me, that takes away all speed. So I experimented with the USB-C keyboard on the couch. So in other words, USB-C keyboard here, retouch, and that worked great. But not for everything. And this is when I started testing this little baby. This is brand new. It is, you probably know it because it's been on the market a few years, but this is the new version. And this is in way more ways genius than you might think. The first thing is there are not a lot of buttons here. And you might think like, hey Frank, I want more buttons because I love buttons. Yeah, I know, but the problem is with all the gear that I tested with a lot of buttons, those are the ones that are now in my closet and I'm not using them anymore. And why? Because I still have to look at the thing, because all the buttons are labeled differently for different software. And at one point, if you have so many buttons, I just can't figure it out anymore. Maybe it's age, I don't know. This one only has a few buttons, but the cool thing is you can combine buttons. So for example, you can press this and this together, or this and this together, or use this one with this one and turn. So you have, I don't know how many options, but a lot. I'm literally only using the buttons that are here. And when you look very closely, you can see that all the buttons have a different feel, except these two. These feel a little bit the same, but the dial is different and you can also press it. This wheel is different, which you can also press. This one feels different. These are also different. So I programmed this for a Lightroom, Photoshop, of course, Final Cut Pro and Logic. And within a few days, I was literally flying blind and just knowing everything, exactly where it was. And for example, in Logic, this solves a very, very big problem. If you're a musician, get one of these, because in Logic, I can now scroll, whatever you want, and zoom in on the timeline. And this is amazing. This saves you so much work, because with your fingers, you can only do one thing. And then you have to switch it over. By using this one, you can zoom in, and you can zoom in that way. If you don't use Logic, it sounds a little bit weird, but you can make the cells higher, but also zoom in. This is a huge improvement. And these are not expensive. They're under 100 euros. And that's why we actually came up with Toolbox to give two away. So if you think, hey, this is awesome, I really like this, join us in our competition with Toolbox. So we're going to give away 2 of these toolboxes for free. The only thing you have to do is you create a video. And this video can be on YouTube, this video can be on TikTok. It doesn't matter. The only thing you have to do is you tag photography, photographer and Toolbox. Just show us what you do in your workflow. And maybe we find a workflow where we go like, that guy can really use a toolbox to speed it up. Or maybe we find somebody who's creating a beautiful piece of art and we go like, wow, that's such a beautiful piece of art. We're going to send them a toolbox. Now I'm actually going to select 2. I'm going to select one where I think like, dude, you really need a toolbox. And I'm going to select one where I go like, dude, you don't need a toolbox. It looks awesome, but it will help you a lot. So those 2, and because it's a competition from Toolbox and me, I thought, why not also throw in a tutorial? We recently created a brand new tutorial about, did you know this in Lightroom? And that's more than 90 minutes of pure Lightroom tips and tricks in the trend of, did you know that this actually works? So if you are the lucky winner, you get a toolbox for free and my new tutorial about Lightroom. Okay, I think we did everything we wanted to do, so this is the end of this. No, I'm just kidding with you guys, because we have something that's way more interesting than a ukulele. In a week, are you ready for the other ones?
I think so.
Are you sure? No? Okay, let's grab the real ones. I love these. Okay, so in a week will take over for me behind the desk. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do it very simple. So let's turn off the red for now. We're probably not going to use it anymore for this setup. And this is a real stunner. Now, in case you wonder, what the heck is this? And why is Frank so enthusiastic about it? This is a jam. And what is a jam? A jam is literally a jam. So let me explain. Now, when you play guitar, you have heroes. And one of my heroes is without any doubt Brian May from Queen. I was brought up with Queen. Queen is for me the band and there's no competition. It's Queen, oh, nothing and everything else. And then all the way on the bottom there's of course something kind of music that I don't like. So one of the guitarists that I also really admire, especially on his vision on music and vision on life, is Steve Vai. And when you talk about guitars, and this is very important why I explain this for the photography. When you talk about guitars, there are always guitars that look the same or are slightly different. Like for example, when you take a Fender Strat, they all look the same. They have a little bit of a different color. They have a little bit of a different radius on the fretboard. They have different frets. They have different pickup configuration. Sometimes a humbucker in the back, always a 5-way switch, tone, size and volume, and a semi-fixed bridge or a bridge. And the headstock, you probably get a bigger one or reversed, but you will recognize a Strat immediately. All other guitars are based a little bit on that Strat and on a second one, and that's a Gibson Les Paul. You probably know the Gibson Les Paul. We also call that a single cut guitar. When you look at what happened in the 80s, a lot of hard rock guitarists went to so-called Strats. The single coils didn't really do it, except of course for Yngwie Malmsteen and Ritchie Blackmore. But hey, those are two names. So they wanted something with a more oomph and a more bite in the sound. So they went for super strats. And what was a super strat? A super They had often a humbucker in the back and then two single coils, or maybe a little bit of a bridge that flowed. We call them float rose tremolos. But they still look like a Strat, but just on steroids. And that's when Steve Vai came into the picture. And it is important for in the photography later on. Steve Vai wanted a guitar that was different, totally different. He in the back. So he said, why not take all the wood out in the back so we can really pull up on that tremolo and do the stuff that you hear, for example, in Yankee Rose with David Lee Roth. Still amazing, he made a guitar talk. If you never heard that, find it on YouTube, David Lee Roth, Yankee Rose. But there was also something else. Of course, he was into showmanship. Steve Vai is one of the biggest showmen on stage when you talk about guitar. And he wanted something that was easy to carry around. And normal guitars, how do you carry them around? It doesn't feel right. So he made a grip. And that was one of the biggest improvements. But he also did something else, and that's a little bit more technical. He chose two humbuckers, one in the neck, one in the bridge, and a single coil in the middle. The thing he did differently, and I can't show you that here, is he wired it totally different from all the other guitars. So you could get the sounds of a Strat, the duck sound. You can get the creamy sound of really that humbucker, a little bit like a Les Paul, or maybe a little bit towards Santana. And you can get that biting sound in the back for Metallica or thrash or speed metal. And of course it had to look like a stunner. And let's be honest, look at the guitar. Oh my. Now, when we talk about photographing guitars, there are a few things that are important. We want to make sure that we don't have too much gloss on the neck. I hate it when there's like this one spot on the neck where you can really see, oh, that's where the lighting was. I don't like that. The other thing is you can choose to place the guitar on a stand like we have here, but that's a little bit boring in all honesty. And of course, you can use a so-called guitar strap. Now, in this case, I chose a white guitar strap, but it's over the monkey grip. And normally when I photograph a Strat, I would literally keep it like this. It will take out a little bit of the flow of the body, but I like how the strap is going. But if I photograph it like this way, it will look weird because there's a hole in the guitar and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the strap, and in this case, we're actually going to make sure that the monkey strap is shown. I still want that strap in because, let's be honest, we use straps. What, Annemiek?
Monkey grip.
Yeah, this is the monkey grip. Now let's shoot it with the exact same lighting setup. So we're going to move this here, and as you can see probably in the video, probably not, it's very, very small on the guitar, so we don't want that. So I'm going to collapse the snoot. Now I have way more light. And for me, the most important thing is the body. So I want to make sure that the body looks absolutely amazing. Now, because it's a digital classroom, I'm not going to remeter. I'm just going to adjust the lighting to what I like. It's not something I recommend, but hey, for now. And there we go. And as you can see, this is exactly what I didn't want. You have a lot of that light in the top of the guitar. Everything else looks okay. But it's that light. And one of the things what you always have to remember is follow the lines. I always call it the Dexter theory. Dexter was the blood spatter specialist, of course, of CSI. And the first thing he always did when he walked into a crime scene was draw lines. This is where it happened. As a photographer, you have to do exactly the same. Draw lines. And then you can immediately see why something reflects or why something doesn't look right. And in this case, it's the angle of the guitar. Now, if I would take the guitar and just angle it away, so let's just angle it a little bit here. Let's see what effect that has. So I'm angling it now towards the light. You might say, uh-oh, we're going to get more of that flare. So let's see if that's true. Actually, no. I now have way less of that flare. And that's interesting because now I can literally just use this lighting to light the guitar. But hey, it's a guitar on a stand. Just shot with a snoot. I don't know, but does this excite you? It doesn't for me. When I think about a guitar like that, I think about sexy. I think about a little bit more of a moody atmosphere. Now, when I shoot my models in a glamour workshop, I love a setup like this, but I'm not going to place my model on a stand or let her stand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my model on the floor and I'm going to use my depth of field, I'm going to use my perspective of the camera to create something unique. Maybe let it just fade out to the back by shooting it on 2.8 or maybe 1.4. Or using a little bit more depth of field, like 5.6, to get it a little bit more depth of field. Maybe go a little bit closer, use a wide angle lens and make the front a little bit bigger and the back a little bit smaller. Or move back, use compression by zooming in and compress everything a little bit together. What if we use exactly those same techniques for a guitar? Yes? Let's try a little bit more creative product photography. So let's take the guitar off the stand. And take the stand out of the picture, of course. There we go. And just lay it on the floor like a beautiful lady, like it is. All guitars are ladies, right? You have to treat them with respect. And sometimes smash them. But not these. Okay, let's make sure that the belt or the strap looks nice. It doesn't have to be perfect. But we just want to make sure that it looks nice. There we go. Nice. I like the way that the floor is a little bit wiggly and everything. Let's make sure that volume and tone are on full blast, so it looks nice. Let's place the tremolo nicely on the bridge, or yeah, let's keep it like that. I think that's okay. Lighting wise, we're going to place the light from the top down. This is why I love using boom stands. I'm still using the same G-Koto 250. The only thing I'm now going to do is I'm going to place it right on top of the guitar, using the pistol grip to aim it. Okay, let's... And you will have to do some Photoshop sometimes to take out light stands, but hey, that's the fun, right? A little bit of Photoshop in your free time. And you probably know that's Chewy, our studio dog. You probably see the mailman. Okay, there we go. Let's try to place it a little bit in the middle. And the snoot is now on the widest setting, so that means that I get a lot of light. And let's first just shoot it from our from our same location. Nice. Look at that glimmering in the backdrop. But in all honesty, I'm overexposing. And what's Annemiek? Now, it doesn't look right, so we're going to change it. And again, I have to work with the settings like this. It does look funky. Okay, let's go to f4.5 for now. Okay, that looks better. So I don't want too much light on one side. Normally when you have studio lights off, it's very easy to do. You just use your modeling lights. In this case, our LED light for me and for the video is much brighter, of course, than my modeling lights. So that's why we have to take a few steps to see what's going on. Okay. So normally you set this up at one set. There we go. Nice. The only thing is we have a little bit too much light on that side, right? Now with a light meter you can of course meter everything correctly, but for now let's place them even more. There we go. Perfect. But that's sitting down. And when I look at the shot like this, I go like, yeah, that's nice. I can see something like this in a magazine, but it's not yet exciting. So what do you do when you shoot models like this? One, you go really low. Well, with the guitar, yeah, that's not something I would recommend because that looks really weird. What don't you do with a model? You don't go up. Or you stand on a staircase and you shoot it literally down. That's nice. Think about the Marilyn Monroe shot from Playboy many, many years ago. They shot it from a high standpoint down. What if we do that with the guitar? So let's stand up above the guitar. Let's shoot it in portrait mode. And let's shoot it like this. There we go, that looks a lot better, but that's a little bit like, why should I shoot a guitar like this? And by the way, I'm still a little bit overexposed. Yeah, the guitar belt isn't that important, that's just fluff. There we go, that's better. A little bit on the dark side, but hey, for now that's okay. So sitting down doesn't work, standing up doesn't really work. How about if we just do something in between? Watch this. And now we get a very, very nice look of the guitar. This is a shot that I really like. But as mentioned before, we can always improve because it's about details, right? With products, we want to make sure that people see the details. Now you can of course go in straight, like this. And show the bridge with a little bit of flair because I'm using that beautiful black diffusion filter. But that doesn't really excite yet because we also want to make sure that that monkey grip is somewhere where it draws our attention. So let's go a little bit more on the side. And let's do this. Because I'm using the light under a slight angle and I didn't angle it down, you might wonder like, why didn't you angle it down? The reason is very simple. I want to make sure that that monkey grips becomes really dark. So in the photo, I don't want that lit up. If I use the light from the other side, it will lit up on this side, and that means that I lose that little bit of extra contrast in my shot like you see here. So this looks okay. The tremolo bar is a little bit in the way for my case, so I don't want to take it out because it belongs there. I don't want to put it like this. Maybe aim it a little bit up. I think this is much better. Focusing on the bridge, take the shot. Now if you want to make the pickup stand out, focus on the, for example, the center pickup. And shoot it like this, or go really close on the bridge pickup. And as you can see here, that doesn't really work. The bridge pickup, sharp focus, no. We use something called, same thing with landscape photography, focus a little bit further, and everything in front will also look a little bit better. Look at this. So now I'm still using that same depth of field, but it looks like I have way more spread because the bridge and the neck pickup are both in focus at the same moment, or at the same way. Okay, looks nice. Now the other thing that really makes these guitars stand out is of course the tree of life. So maybe it's also nice to make sure that we get a little bit of the tree of life in. Maybe shot from here, a little bit higher. There we go. Now in this case I would love a little bit more light in there, but I'm not going to do that at the moment yet. And of course the headstock. But when I look at this, I go like, it's fun, it's nice, but what if? And when I say what if, you know it's coming, right? A second guitar. It's even rarer because the white one I see a lot. With the ebony fretboard you don't see a lot. The one I'm going to pick now is pretty unique, I guess. Unique, I guess. And this is a black one. But I don't think this... What's ball? Okay. Now for this one I'm going to use my most favorite, without any doubt, light shaper. No, that's okay, Annemiek, just leave it. They will pick that up in a few seconds. Okay, so let me sit down so you guys can see, because we don't have any cameras that move around today. Now, the thing that I see about wedding photography, and sometimes, I'm not a wedding photographer, let me put that in the front, but we do teach wedding photographers. And a week I have an empty battery on that one. So run, please. And a week we'll switch over the batteries. And then that one will come up again, I hope. We hope. That's the nice thing about live streams. Everything can go right or everything can go wrong. So when we do wedding photography workshops, we often find that people think that the bride is the most important thing. And that is, of course, the most important person, of course, sorry. And I'm not English native. So they mostly think the bride is the most important person of today. So what do? They place the light very close to our bride. And then, of course, the groom is next to the bride. Now, in most cases, the bride is wearing white and the groom is wearing black. So, is it wise to place your light next to a white dress with a black one next to it? Not really, because most of the light will fall off on the dress. Now, there's something called in photography, and that's called the inverse square law. Light falls off over the distance. Now, there are videos out there that claim that light doubles or halves over the distance. That's not true. Just listen to the name, the inverse square law. It's the square root of the light. So that means that if you place light close to a subject, it will fall off very rapidly. If you place your light further away, it will fall off a lot slower. Now, in the case of model photography, this is important. If you place somebody with a white dress next to a black dress, it's important to place your light on the side of the black dress for the very simple reason the black dress will get the most light, and then the light will fall off over the distance, reaching the white dress. The closer you place your light to that black dress, the most beneficial you will get from the setup. Because if you place that light really close to the white dress, you have to correct it, and the black dress will totally just block up. If you place it close to the black dress will show all the detail, and the white dress is very easily correctable in Lightroom, Photoshop or whatever, or you can just leave it that way. So in this case, we have one black guitar on the left side, or right side for me, and the white guitar on the left side. So that means that for my lighting, it's very wise to turn the lighting around to make sure that I first light the black guitar and then the white guitar. Now you might think, Frank, you're lighting it from the top. Does that really make sense? Yes. Unless you are aiming your light exactly straight down, it doesn't make any sense. But in this case, we are shooting slightly under an angle to make sure that we have that monkey grip really nice and dark. So that means that I'm going to move my light to the other side and just angle it slightly to make sure that I get the result that I want. Now, in all honesty, and this is not to make myself feel good, I didn't practice this before. I never shot it like this. I always shoot guitars with my phone. So this is going to be interesting how it looks with a real camera and real lighting. So we're going to place that here. Let me make sure that the camera doesn't take off too much of that information. Okay, we don't want it too... Anna, can you take that camera out, please? Because it's aimed straight at my, you know what.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's aim that light up. Okay. And then down. And as mentioned before, I want to angle it just slightly. So we're going to angle this a little bit like this. Not too much, because it still has to look like it comes from one direction. And I'm going to place it as close as possible to the black guitar. So the light is literally just flowing over to the other guitar, I hope. Okay, this looks nice. Everything looks okay. Let's turn the modeling light on just for reference. Now we'll have a lot more light, of course, which is covering, but that's okay. Let's shoot this. Okay. Let me first turn off the other lights. No. Okay. Okay, let's turn up the power. Again, normally, please guys, use a light meter. It's so much faster. But in this case, because I have to take off my remote every time, I don't want to do that. Now, as you can see here, that red, the head one of the black guitar is getting way too much light. So that's something we're going to fix. First, let's get the exposure correct. There we go. Okay, so now we still have too much light on the headstock of the black guitar. And that has everything to do, again, with the angle. When you look at the lighting, I don't know if you can see that on YouTube, it is angled slightly towards the head of that guitar. So if I want to make sure that we don't hit too much light on it, I can do two things. I can, of course, change the lighting and keep changing the lighting until I see what I get. And then I take the shot the way that I want it, and I find out that there's that freaking reflection again. How does that work? You always have to set up your lighting from the angle you're shooting on. So if I'm shooting under this angle, yep, the lighting is totally wrong because, well, that headstock is totally lit up and I don't see any detail. So if I start aiming my light correctly, the moment I'm taking the real shot, I will have a huge problem because the real shot is actually going to be like this. Because I have two guitars next to each other. And now look at the miracle. The whole reflection is gone. The fun thing is, I didn't even test this. So how did I know this? Well, this is something that, and we have a TV show in the Netherlands called Ernst, Bobby and the Rest. And that actually has a police officer. And when he solves something, he never solves anything because the other guys and their dog actually solves everything. He always says, yeah, that's by years of training and intensive detectiving. So this is literally what he says. The reason I know this very fast without practicing in front is because over the years you learn yourself to look at those angles, look at the angle of incidence is the angle of reflection. That also works with glasses. If you shoot somebody with glasses, you always have that nasty reflection. You can change your lighting what you want, change your angle. So change your own shooting position. When we shoot images for companies, we always take this into account. We always make sure that the lighting is a little bit too high. Everybody that's not wearing glasses, I just let them lift up their chin just a little bit and I shoot from a little bit of a higher position. Everybody that wears glasses, I just let them lower their chin just a little bit and shoot from a slightly lower angle. That way I don't have any glare in the eyes or in the glasses, and it looks like they were shot under the same angle or same perspective. So we're actually doing the same with the guitar. Now, if you look at details, you can of course nitpick that the tremolo on the back guitar isn't correct, which you are absolutely right. So let's change that for now. Let's switch that over. Let's do this one also to the front. I really like that. And let's take the final shot for this. Nice. Awesome, but it doesn't really excite me yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break of about 3 or 4 minutes, and we're going to make sure that it does look awesome in a moment, because up until now we are just warming up, because now we're going to do the real magic, or I hope it's going to be magic. So let me switch over to this one. And we have something special for you guys, because we have a lot of workshops coming up, and I'm going to show you now where we are, when we are there, and well, register for those workshops. They're going to be really awesome. Hey guys, Frank here, welcome in our studio. Today we're working on a great set with zebras. Anyway, if you want to be updated on everything that we do concerning tutorials and new videos, of course, new products, or maybe interesting workshops in your area, or if you just love to be inspired, well, subscribe to our newsletter. I will leave the link here, or whatever media we're using. So follow that link. We will have a Dutch one and an English one. They're totally new, so if you're already subscribed to our newsletter, do it again, because the old one we won't be using anymore. Now, like you guys, we hate spam. So that means that we don't send out the newsletter unless we have something really interesting to tell you guys. And as mentioned before, every newsletter has an inspirational tip or a little video. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. And the link, well, you find them anywhere, somewhere there, or maybe down below the video. Anyway, wherever the link is, click it and subscribe. Thank you so very much. See you again. Bye, guys. Yeah, and especially that last one is really important. And we feels really bad that she deleted our English mailing list. So if you want to keep updated on everything that we do, and we don't spam, we absolutely hate spam, and like you guys, we get a lot of it, and we don't want that. So if we send out something, it's because it's really important, or we have a really cool video online, but you won't get any spam. So please join us on our mailing list. It really helps out us because it's a direct connection we have with you guys. And especially now with Facebook and X, we have to call it X, are filtering so much of the content. I sometimes get emails from people like, hey, it's really great that we see that you're back at photography. I post every day. But if they didn't like every single day, Facebook starts to filter out your content. And that's really ridiculous and totally unfair. So with our mailing list, you at least don't miss any important information. Now about those workshops, of course, we have our Click Live event first in England, and after that Watford studio workshops, which is going to be really interesting. We're going to do the best setups I learned over the years, which people really like, and it's going to be setups that we normally do in very small spaces, like on trade show floors, but it's also going to be setups that we do in a more elaborate space. So it's literally something for everybody. Another thing that's really important to point out is that, of course, at the Click event, I will be having a booth for Rogue, IQ Wire, and of course Click backdrops. And I will be teaching at the main stage and also at our own booth several times a day. And the cool thing about that is there is no real program. So that means we are just shooting. And if you have a question about one of our products, and that's the really cool thing about that day, let's say you want to know, hey, Frank, I want information about the Frank Dorel flash bender, and you are in our booth. Now think about this. You are never going to get that service anywhere else. We have a model there, and I'm going to show you literally, if you want to know how the Frank Dorel flash bender works, join me. We're going to set it up. I'm going to show you on our strobes how it works, what you can do with it. And then, of course, you're going to buy it. If you want to know how our gels work, we're going to set up with our gels. So this is literally not like here you can hold it and please pay. This is literally, oh, you want to know information? Let me show you how it works. And all the demos are done by me. So you can literally just ask anything you want. And I think that's a big plus to visit Click event, because let's be honest, you don't go to trade shows for new gear. You go to trade shows for the speakers. And we have Lindsay Edler, Lynn Dewars, we have me, and I believe 30 other speakers. So it's going to be awesome. So about awesome. Now, we did some photos with the guitars just on the floor. We did some photos with the ukulele and some smoke. But let's be honest, if you just place them on the floor, that becomes really boring very, very fast. And when I see those magazine ads for guitars or amps or whatever, there's always this feeling of connection, of something really nice. And what is that part that's missing? And that's often a prop. Now with a model, that can be sunglasses or a hat or maybe a big dress or something other weird stuff or normal stuff. But with guitars, it's often something like a wooden floor, an old amp, a microphone, or in this case, a chair. What can we do with a chair? Let's find out. So let's go back to our studio floor and our dog. And we already have set up the chair. And it's not electric, so don't worry. Electric guitars, not the electric chair. We're going to place the lights slightly from the front. I want to hit the guitars straight on. We're going to aim it much higher now. And I'm going to aim it there. Now for this setup, I am going to use the light meter, because now it's a little bit more tricky to get it right at once. So we're going to use the meter. And let's just meter the light for now. I want to end up at around F4. This is F8. Yes. You don't have to go up. When Chewy sees a chair, he also wants to jump up to be photographed. 5.6, that's okay on ISO 200. So I can always drop down to F4 ISO 100. But I think this will be nice. What's on the week? Yeah, he needs to be in the chair. Okay, I'm going to sit a little bit further away to zoom in, to compress. So let's see if the camera is still filming me here. Otherwise we have to fix that. So that's Anne Week's job. You're going to be in front? Are you sure? That's the disadvantage of being a black dog, Chewy. You don't register. You're black. Sit on this chair. Chewy, chair. Chewy, in de stoel. Come. Chewy, come. No, this chair. Come. Nice. Sit down. Stay. Blijf. He doesn't speak English. Sit. Chewy, sit. Chewy, sit. As you can see here, it's aimed at guitars, not on dogs. So my dog is way too dark, so I'm not going to shoot the dog.
Okay, come on, Chewy.
Come on. Isn't that an awesome guitarist dog? Or, sorry, photography dog? Okay, let's first take the black one, because that's the one that's going to be the troublemaker. And in this case, again, the same principle. I have my lighting on this side. I have the black guitar on this side. There we go. Tremolo bar up. Well, it's an old tremolo bar, so it doesn't stay up, so just leave it down. We're going to do a little bit of set dressing. Sounds interesting, right? So I'm going to make sure that we see the belt. And because we want to shoot two, I have to make sure that it's a little bit like this.
You never tried this, right?
I never did this. I don't even know if two will fit. So this will be interesting for now. That's okay. For now. Let's set up the camera the right way. 5.6. I was shooting on 7.1. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to sit down. This will be our setup. I think that looks pretty okay. The only problem I have, I want a little bit more light on the guitar itself. So because I'm using a smaller softbox, I can choose to get a bigger softbox, or, and that's the trick, just raise it. And that way I get more spread of my light and probably also a little bit more on my guitar. So let's aim that. Yes, that looks nice. Let's bump it up to a little bit higher because we changed the distance of the light. I think this will be okay. Wow, look at that. That's awesome. Really nice. I think it would benefit the guitar to be a little bit more straight up. So let's do it like this. And let's also take the white one. And this makes me a little bit nervous because the chair is a little bit less white than I anticipated, to be honest. And I don't want to damage my guitars. Let's do it like this. Yep, this is nice. Now the guitar belts, we're going to take that off. That makes no sense for this setup. Don't throw away the guitars, of course, but the belts are okay. It's a good belt. There we go. And of course I can place one guitar a little bit more like this and a little bit more aimed down. That one a little bit more up. Let me see the light. So the black one will get a lot of light, the white one a little bit less. Let's change that over. Tremolo bar on that side. Let's hope that it stays. No. Yeah, that's the problem with older guitars. The tremolo bars will not stay in. So for now we're just going to accept it for what it is. So let's just move that over here. There we go. Okay, nice. Awesome. Now the only thing I have to do is determine my angle for both guitars. But I think we can make it more interesting. So, we have set it up. I do like the look of this. The black one, ja, Anne-Victor moet je de camera eens even goed zetten. The black one, let's switch it over just a little bit, there we go. And I think what would be really nice now is if we have some smoke on the back and maybe some lighting on the back. And I need this one to be a little bit more up. So let's see. And we do have something that we can put in between. Yeah, a pillow, small pillow, very small pillow. Yeah, maybe. No, that's too big. No, that's way too big. Really something really small. While Annewiek is finding something, I'm going to place another light. I'm going to place that light with a red gel, and I'm going to make sure that it gives me a nice lens flare. So we're going to move this light. I'm going to aim it up in this case. Yeah, that's perfect, I think. Okay, just give it to me and I will place it in. Now, the scarf, of course, we can just place it like a little bulb behind the guitar and hope it doesn't draw any attention. But you can also use it as set dressing. And of course, it's fake fur. We don't believe in real fur. Or if we do believe in real fur, we just don't want to use it. And we don't support it. There we go. So now the guitar is a little bit more straight up. Let's see if we can get the white one a little bit more in the angle. There we go. This looks nice. Now let's change the light just a little bit. Again, working without modeling lights is terrible. But we have to do with what we have. Okay. Now we're going to use the red gel in the back. I'm going to aim that as close as possible to the backdrop to hope to get a little bit of the backdrop in. And then aim it slightly forward. So I'm always following with my hands. So turn it on. Nice. Now the first thing, of course, we're going to do is do a test shot. This is without. Let's turn color on. First on a low setting. As you can see now the white guitar is getting a lot of the red. So in the end, we probably will change that. Nice. But it's too much red on the on the white guitar, and we just want that lens flare. So what I can do is not aim it at the guitars itself, but actually angle it away, so towards the camera. And by aiming it towards the camera, I have to make sure that in the angle of my viewfinder, I can still see the red. I don't want to see a lot of the red, just barely, and that will give me that lens flare. So let's try that again. And I don't want too much on the guitar. There we go. This already is way better. Nice. But we want the effect even more. So we're going to grab this light, and I don't want any light on that guitar as mentioned. So we're going to place the light in front of the guitar. So the guitar is here. Just to give you an idea, the light is here. So it's now in front of the guitars. I'm going to aim it slightly down, so it's literally aimed at my camera. And it won't, if I'm lucky, touch the guitars. Or at least not a lot, just barely. There we go, still a little bit on the white one. So let's move it a little bit further forward. And I want that nice lens flare in there. You can already see it happening. Okay, now we don't have anything on the guitars. So that's the point where we can really start adding that color. Also take off your sun hood. Wow, look at that. That's nice. It's literally now flowing with red light. I'm going to go a little bit lower. Let's see if that also works. And of course you can choose to shoot it in landscape mode or portrait. Let's try portrait mode setting. And you can see now that we get too much of that lens flare in. So in portrait setting, I would probably have to raise that light a lot higher, and I don't want that now. And in all honesty, I just love landscape. There we go, I really like this. The black guitar still has a little bit too less detail for me. So we're gonna tilt that one just a little bit. This is where we are gonna use the whole material behind it, because I don't want to damage anything. Maybe just leave it a little bit in the front, so it makes sense. A little bit in the back. There we go. And this takes a little bit of time, guys. But hey, for a good picture of a good guitar, you take the time, right? There we go. This one also a little bit nicer. Great. Maybe a little bit more straight on. Cool. Yeah, the tremolo bars, that's the part what I don't like, but we don't have a choice with that. We can't fixate them. Now, just hope that there's no reflection of the strobe. Nope. Nice. And now comes the nice part. Emmeloord, can you please use some smoke in the back? I'm going to lower my red by 2 stops. So let me first show you without. So this is without. Nee, eerst lang drukken. En dan 2 keer. Only in the back, Emmeloord, not in the front. Now, as you will probably see, this doesn't really register a lot like you might expect. But it will give you a little bit of nice flow. There you go. Now, in all honesty, and I'm really honest with this, I don't like the way that those two fit together on the chair. So we're going to do them one by one. I think that's much nicer, because they aren't symmetrical enough for me. And this also gives me a nice way of introducing another prop. So let's do this, and let's bring in the Book of Magic. There we go, because making music is of course a little bit magic, right? So let's see if this is nicer. There we go. Okay, Emmeloord. Now we want some smoke in the front and the back. You can make the fan a little bit faster, Emmeloord. Yep. A little bit in the front. Yep, mostly in the back. Okay. Yep. There we go. And you don't always have to include everything. You can also cut it off like this. Okay, a little bit more smoke. Daar heb ik niks aan. Lager, lager, lager. Much lower, Emmeloord. Much lower. Yes. And a little bit on the sides. There we go. A little bit on the front now. Also on the front there. And on the bottom. Bottom. Emmeloord op het zitvlak. Yes, there we go. Okay, great. Now we have to make sure that it's a little bit out of the way. I just want it floating one side. There we go. This is what I like. There we go. Like the guitar is on fire. Awesome. Okay, let's switch over for the black one. course, we want to shoot them both. And for the black one, we're also going to do something else in a moment. I just love that book.
It's a photo book.
Yeah, a very old photo book. Okay. First, always shoot it without. Oh, lovely. More on the floor, Annemiek. It doesn't make any use high. There we go. Okay, stop. With this one, I want a little bit more lens flare in, as you can see. And if you like the reflections, leave them in. If you don't, just change your angle of shooting. As you can see me doing here, if I want the reflection on the monkey grip, I will shoot it from here. If I don't want that reflection, approximately, right guys? I'm flying blind. You can shoot it from here. I just want it a little bit in on the sides, as you can see here. A little bit of glimmer. And again, if you don't want that, just change your angle slightly. You don't have to change it a lot, and now it's totally gone. So it just depends. If you want it a lot, you stand here. Chewie. Hey, terug. Goed zo. Come. Are the cameras still on the right position, Annemiek? This is really nice. And let's include a little bit of that reflection, or include a lot and maybe a little bit of lens flare. There we go. So you are the master of your photography. You can choose whatever you want to do it, but let's make it a little bit more fun. Now, of course, we now lit everything from the sides. Let's just move this strobe to the back of the set. Aim it down. And you will have to clone this out in Photoshop, but that's easy nowadays. And we just place it behind the chair. Now what I want is I want a little bit of light under the chair, but mostly I just want it to be flooded with light. So again, you have to Photoshop the booms out, place it as close as possible to the backdrop. And probably with the normal setting, it will not give enough light. It will just be a little bit of accent. So we're gonna raise the output in a moment. As you can see here, that doesn't make any sense. But as soon as you start raising that, let's go to full power. The C channel. Let's go for full. There we go. Now you see that the backdrop is really getting some very, very nice light. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay, Annemiek, now I want a lot of smoke behind the chair. Like a lot. And then in the end also a little bit on the front. So if first the back, and then Annemiek, if you look at the camera or the monitor, a little bit on the front with the book and the body of the guitar. But first the back. Yeah, and a lot. You can probably just leave it there, just blowing smoke. First the front, Annemiek, a little bit more from the bottom down, literally from there. Yes, and now place it behind the chair and just leave it running. Okay, and move very quickly. Nice. And the back isn't supposed to be really lit up, I want to give it a little bit of attention. There we go. Nice. Okay, and we pick it up a little bit more on the front again. And as you can see, the smoke isn't really visible, and that's because we are now using, of course, only the main light to light the smoke. So if you want the smoke visible, the only thing we have to change, if you want the smoke visible, is just change this one to the side. And you don't even have to aim it a lot, just aim it up slightly. And we still have that beautiful lens flare. It will now hit the book, but it won't hit the guitar. And if you are worried that it hits the guitar, just use a grid on it. Are we still using that camera, Annemiek, for the overview?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, do a lot of smoke. Gonna lower the output, of course, again to 1/4. Okay. And especially in the front.
and that's why the smoke is disappearing so quickly.
Yeah, okay. Okay, there we go. It's almost like an over-the-top red. So let's turn that all the way down, because this is way too much. Okay, let's try it without the smoke first. Okay, I think this is cool. Okay, and we try the smoke. And because we like this with the smoke, we turn it down another stop, because the smoke will reflect and make diffuse. Okay, very nice. Lower, Annemiek, low, low, low. And fill that up totally. Yes. Now to the side, where the light is. Okay, cool. Okay, anyway, I think best is to start there, because the smoke is going that way. You have to be careful about the wind in your studio. Not that it's really windy here, but there is a certain airflow. That's much better, Annemiek. Yes, that's much better. Okay, and there we go. And now a little bit in front of the guitar, from the bottom. Yep. There we go, that's what I like. Okay, and of course, to make it nice, just go really close, use your wide angle, and create something a little bit more funky. With a little bit of lens flare from the side. And if you want this one with the lens flare in the top, and this is the last one we're going to do, we're going to aim this one up and aim it down. And you could use a grid in this case. So let me put a grid in front. And that's the nice thing about the magnetic system from Rogue. You can just stack everything together. So let's create a little bit more of a dense red beam. There we go. And I'm using the wide angle now to get a little bit closer. Okay, now turn that red up again, because we're now using a grid, so that also takes away a lot of light. Because we don't have a very wide beam now anymore, it's more like a narrow beam. And there we go. Now you see that shimmer of red just gives that image a little bit more than just normal color. Okay, a little bit lower maybe. And of course, also when you go lower, always check if higher also works. Nice. Or maybe you love portrait mode. And the week always tells me I have to shoot more portrait mode. So here we go. Awesome. Some close-ups maybe. Just barely around the book. It's not really a close-up, but more a creative angle. And the final one. Let's try that. Great. And now maybe one more for the road. Nice. Great. And with the wide angle, you know, it just extends everything. I will do the same thing just for perspective with the zoomed in version. As you can see here, this looks totally different. It's a totally different look. Now, if you want the guitar to get a little bit more attention, the only thing you have to do is angle it towards the light. So in this case, we're going to turn the book to this side. Get a little bit like this. Now we also can get away with that tremolo arm. I think this looks nice. Now the book will get a little bit more of that red, and the guitar will get a little bit more of the normal lighting. It will probably reflect like crazy for this setup, you see. But that's easily solved by changing your angle. Now it will reflect a lot on the neck, but in this case, I don't really mind that. The middle pickup, that's a little bit of a trick. So I don't want that. So change the angle, and the only angle you have to change is your own or the guitar. Like in this case, the book can be a little bit more, maybe like this, like it's casual. Yeah, I think this looks okay. Choose your angle. And there we go. Nice. Okay, I think we got them. Oh yeah, I had to show the book. I will do that on my desk. So anyway, if you want to take the tremolos off and put them back in the cases, I will show them the book.
And we have another thing to show.
Oh, show and go? What do you want to show? Okay, first I'm going to do is a little commercial because we have to set up for the final talk. So here we go. Okay, and we're back. So I hope you enjoyed this episode where I was totally out of my comfort zone because one, I don't do a lot of product photography like this. And of course, I never shot guitars like this and it's a live stream. So if something went wrong, I'm sorry for that. But I guess you got some information out of it. Now, I do have some really cool news for you guys. First of all, you wanted to see the book. So this is the book, and it's an old photography book actually, and they took out all the pictures, which is a shame because, well, nowadays you don't use images like this anymore. But it looks absolutely stunning, and I think we're going to use this for some kind of wizard shot or whatever in our cosplay series. It's going to be cool. The other thing I want to show you guys, and this is, we always listen to you. Now, I mentioned many times before that the brands that we do, Rogue, Click Backdrops, and of course also IQ Wire, are companies that listen to the photographers. If you need something, they build it. So if you think the Frank Doorhoff flash bender can be improved, you email that to Rogue and they will literally just pick that up with me, of course, if I like it, and then they will change it. Or if there's any other product, only the flash bender is, of course, something that I'm also involved with. Now, a while ago, we started with IQ Wire because IQ Wire has 5-meter USB-C cables, 10 meters and 15 meters. And you saw today, I'm shooting to the iPad. And it's insanely fast. Everything you saw today were raw files from a Sony a7R5 on an iPad Pro. And you saw how incredibly fast those images came in. I'm not shooting JPEGs. And when we started with IQ Wire, they didn't have a defense system yet. Now they have an awesome defense system. It's under my camera. It works very nicely. We have some videos on it online and we'll show you in a second. And we actually, you know, with tethering, you have to connect your cable to your camera in the best possible way. So we designed the cable block. Now, a lot of you guys bought it because, one, it's very cheap. It's 35 euros, while other brands charge you 100 euros or whatever. And there are a few things that we changed in comparison to the other brands. One, the color, bright red. so you can easily find it in your studio. But we also made it a little bit smaller. So now on certain cameras, you can still open up your battery compartment instead of having that over it, so you can't open it. We place some nice feet under there so you don't damage your camera. And of course, we hate it when you use a screwdriver on a coin to open it up. So we have this little lever over here where you can easily grab it. Now, with the first version, sometimes it happened that lever got a little bit stuck here. And because it's very thick and very powerful, of course, that was a little bit of a problem. So we asked them to make it a little bit smaller. So now you can just easily take it out with your finger, and now you don't need any tools anymore in 99% of the cases. The other question we got a lot is, hey Frank, it's Arca compatible. So that means that if you have an Arca stand, you can use this on your stand. You don't have to get anything else. But some people don't have an Arca stand. They have, for example, a Manfrotto or another brand. So we listened to you guys and we filled up this hole, and now we have 2 extra mounting holes over here. And the fun part is it's still 35 euros and you can buy it on our store. So this is one of those products where over the years I found out so many problems I had with other products where it just didn't work right. And this is something we can develop ourselves and also let it produce for us. So that's why we decided to do this ourselves. So the cable block, absolutely great. Now, all the gear that I use today, you can get in our web shop and just on our website. So let me just show you the website, frankdoorhof.com, but you probably know that already. And I think that is it. And do I need to mention anything more? The what? Oh, yeah, you saw me shooting today with the GT200 also. Now, with the GT200 and the AD200 from Godox, we do have a system that fits on it very nicely, and that's our converter kit for rectangular strobes to round. So you can use round magnetic adapters on a normal rectangular strobe. The only problem is the AD200 from Godox and of course also the GT200 from Giotto are a little bit thick. It does work, but you need to really stretch it on. And if you did it twice or 3 times, it works like a charm, but I'm not going to show you now because then it will probably go wrong. But we created something new. And again, Rogue is a company that really listens to the photographers. And we will very soon show you this in our digital classroom. We have a new adapter for the AD200 and the GT200, and that just slides over. It's exactly the size for those 2 strobes. And it's more like a slider instead of something that you push through. Now, both work like a charm, but the slider is just a little bit easier. So they will be on our website as soon as we get them in, and they will be sold also in your favorite camera store or on Bol in the Netherlands or Amazon. We also have an Amazon store, I believe. Okay, the sponsors, of course, are... And I have to do this correctly. We have BenQ, and if you are in the market for a new monitor, we have a 10% discount for all European viewers, only the European viewers. The thing is, I can't give you that code directly because we only have a limited amount. So please email me and you will get a 10% discount on your new BenQ monitor if you order it in the European Union. Of course, we have our Rogue products, that is the magnetic system and the Frank Doorhof flash band. The Rogue has been with us for many, many years, same as BenQ. You saw me shooting to an iPad Pro today, and I'm using Cascable. I can highly recommend using Cascable. It's one of the best solutions I ever used for tethering on the iPad, because it's the only solution I ever used on the iPad with a wire. Now, there are many solutions that you can use wireless, but you know the problem with wireless. JPEGs are great, and when we work outside, we often shoot wireless. The problem with wireless is it always works until it has to work. So in other words, I test it before I go on stage and it works. Then I'm on the stage, I press the button and it takes 10 seconds for a JPEG to come in. With Cascable, you can shoot wireless, and if that doesn't work, you quickly connect your cable and you have your Cascable connection. Hey, that's a nice joke. Another brand, and we still have to shoot that one, and I'm going to explain why, that's why we do it before the end of the show, is Calibrite. Calibrite, and you probably know it in their old name, X-Rite. Calibrite is a company that is really aimed at getting your workflow in order. So in other words, they deliver color checkers, and that makes it easier to make sure that all the cameras that you use look the same, but also that you don't have to spend a lot of time in Lightroom adjusting your color temperature. You just shoot a color checker, you click on the gray, you create a profile, and you sync that to all your images, and you're done. Really easy to do. We have some videos for that online. If you want it, just leave comments below. IQ Wire, the brand that we use for tethering, and I'm totally in love with those cables. We now have the carbon blacks with a great defense system. I'm going to show you that in a second. And the nice thing about IQ Wire is they're faster than the competition, and that's the cool thing, we have 5 meters, but also 10 and now 15 meters, and that's without extension. So in other words, it's one cable, so nothing can go wrong. I've used 15 meters before with 2 extension blocks, and the problem is that especially when cables become slightly older, they don't fit nicely together anymore, and that means that you lose your connection sometimes. You can tape them together, but that's not a very nice solution. This is a cable in one piece, so it can't do that. And the nice thing, because we're using IntelliConnect and also, of course, the USB-C protocol, we are very fast with connecting, but we can also use so-called pigtails. So that means if your camera is not ready for USB-C yet, still you can buy the camera and use a small pigtail from 15 or 20 centimeters, and you can convert from USB-C to a USB-A, micro or mini USB. And believe it or not, we also sell those cables, the pigtails. They're very cheap, but as soon as you are then ready for your new camera which supports USB-C, you just take the pigtail off and you just keep shooting. Now, again, we listen to you guys. We are constantly listening to your advice, to your questions. So we also introduced a small pigtail USB-C to USB-C, because some people are a little bit afraid when they have their cable directly into a camera and there's no breaking point. So for those people, we also have a system. But I'm also going to show you what I use, and I think that's a way better solution than just a pigtail. And finally, all those beautiful backdrops you see from me using in our photography, in our studio, and of course in the live streams are from Click Backdrops. Here we still use the old logo I see. Ooh, that's not good from Frank. Nowadays it's called Click Backdrops because they dropped the props and they broke. So no more props in the name. Easy, right? Okay, I think those are the sponsors. So let's go for the final part of our workshop. And this is the part that is actually the most important part. This is the part where we're going to make sure that everything works when I'm at home. So what do I have to do? Well, very simple. Anouk is going to take over for the camera. And I just have to make one more shot. And that one more shot is actually the most important shot of the whole workshop. And that's the color checker. Make sure that you fill it as much as possible, shoot it, and you're done. And now you can very easily create your profile. And let me show you our defense system, because that's of course what you want to know. So let me first put on the sun hood. Anyway, which camera can I use? Okay, so let me switch over the display so I see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so under my camera, you see that we now have our IQ Wire connected. Let's turn off the camera. Now, on the side, we created these a little bit smaller. So now you can literally not damage your port anymore. It's a little bit more difficult to take out, so we use a little bit of a sticker. And then you can easily just press on the sticker and then it's loose. Now, if you are in trouble and you stand on your camera, we have a defense system here. And that's actually my breaking point. Now watch this. So I can just take it off and put it back in again because it's just USB-C. As you can see, very easy, and it's a breaking point. And that also makes it possible. So when I'm on location, I only have to click here and I can just continue my work. And when I want to tether again, I just slide it in here, the click, and it's mounted very securely. So you never have to take that cable out, but the most important thing, that very expensive 15-meter cable is always protected against problems. Because, well, you always use this part and you don't have any stress on your cable. Really like that solution. Very well thought of. Not just a cable, but something that really protects. And that's what I love, because when you're a working photographer, you know it, right, guys? We can always destroy stuff where people go like, oh, you can't destroy that. Trust me, as photographers, we can destroy everything. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. I think this is the end of this episode of Digital Classroom. Next time, because this is, of course, not my main work. We do product photography, but this is more creative, having fun. Next time, we're going to do, again, model photography. And it's up to you guys. What do you want to see? Do you want to see us using white backdrops? Or do you want to see more with styling, or maybe a little bit with motion, or maybe cosplay, or horror, or combining light sources? Just drop me an email and just tell me what you want to see next time. And you can just use the email on our website. What, Anouk?
May 15th.
May 15th is the next digital classroom. From my side and from Anouk's side, I would like to thank you so very much for watching. And I have another really cool thing. If you watch this live, tonight I will be at a photography podcast from my dear friend in the UK, Mark Cleckhorn. And that starts at 7:30 UK time, I believe. So if you want to see that one, just follow my social media. We're going to promote that in a few not a few minutes. We first have to clean up here. So probably in an hour, we're going to promote that live stream too. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and see you again next time.